All right. Hi, all. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. On behalf of our Orientation and Transition Programs Office, I want to welcome you to our Wednesday webinar series. We've been hosting these throughout the summer, and we've actually only got one more left after tonight, so thanks for joining us again. These series are really just meant to help you prepare for your transition to the UVA community here and learn more about some of the resources available to you and the ways that you can get involved and engaged here. I want to give you some reminders before we get into our topic for the day. So be sure you're checking your new student portal. There's a lot of important deadlines coming up and a lot of tasks on that list. So make sure you keep an eye on that and stay up to date. If you have any questions, feel free to email us. Our email is orientation@virginia.edu. Also, be sure you're checking your UVA email address regularly. There's a lot of information coming to you from the orientation office, as well as your academic advisors and other resources on grounds too. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to email us orientation@virginia.edu. This session is going to be recorded and will be posted on our Wednesday webinars website. You can also refer to any of our past topics on that same website as well. So I'm going to turn it over to our host. Dream is going to start us off and our topic for today on public service at UVA.
Excellent. Good day, good evening. I hope this day finds you well wherever you are as you're listening in. Betty, thank you so much for the introduction. We are super excited to join you this evening to talk about a very important topic related to the UVA student experience, which is public service. And so as we get started, I want to introduce some wonderful folks and colleagues who are in the room representing the many opportunities that exist at UVA. Again, my name is Dreama Johnson. I am the director of the Public Service Pathways Program, which you'll hear a little bit about later. But let me turn it over to my colleagues at the Karsh Institute, the Center for Community Partnerships, and then ROTC.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nikki Kane. I am the Assistant Director of Programming at the Karsh Institute of Democracy. We're a pan-university institute, and a big part of our mission is focused on public service. So we're excited to talk to you.
Hello. My name is Devon Wade. I am a Community Partnerships Program Manager at the Center for Community Partnerships. We are an office that does primarily community-facing work through research and analysis, and also college and career access for students in 7th grade through 12th grade. And we partner a lot with undergraduate students and graduate students. And we are another office that engages a lot in public service.
And my name is Lieutenant Sarah Cruz. I am a naval officer and assistant professor of naval science for the Navy ROTC unit, where we train and develop students to becoming naval officers. It's a great way to serve your country and as well as get a real world experience while in college. And while I'm Navy only, I can speak a little bit to Army and Air Force if there are any questions about that branch.
Super. Thank you all so much. And again, as I mentioned, the work that my role pertains to is within the Public Service Pathways Program, which is a wayfinding program at UVA for new students. It's an experience that you can enter into and progress through over your 4 years to get connected to wonderful partners that you have already met tonight. As a part of tonight's webinar, we are going to share a little bit about the variety of ways that you as new students can engage in public service at UVA. What's really important to us at the university is helping students understand what their talents are and develop skills that can not only be positive for yourself as you join our community, but also how those positive talents might contribute to the communities that you're a part of while you're here at UVA and then eventually beyond UVA. What we also know about you all as incoming students is that nearly 92% of you have participated in some type of community service prior to coming to UVA. And so we want to make sure that you are able to continue that commitment to public service as you enter the student community. And so I think one of the best ways that you can learn about opportunities is actually from your fellow students who have participated and are a part of these programs. And so tonight we're really delighted to turn this webinar over to three of our student leaders who are going to share a little bit about the different avenues of public service pathways at UVA. And at the end, we'll take some questions, if you have them, about how to get engaged. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Lily Dorothy, who will introduce the rest of the webinar.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And thank you, Dreama and Nikki and Lieutenant Sarah Cruz and Devon for joining us as well this evening. As Dreama stated, I'm Lily Dorothy. I am a rising fourth year. I'm studying public policy and applied statistics. And I'm an intern this summer for Public Service Pathways, Student Engagement, and Madison House. And so you'll learn a little bit about what those words mean in a moment. And then extracurricular-wise, I am the Director of Coalition Engagement for our Student Council. So now I'm going to pass it over to Maggie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maggie Palestina. I'm a rising fourth year studying political and social thought in the college. During the year, I serve on the Student Advisory Council for Public Service Pathways, where I co-lead the Public Arts Pathway, and I'm happy to be a summer intern with Pathways this summer as well.
And just to finish it off, I'm Isabella Gattuso. I'm a rising fourth year in the College of Arts and Sciences, also studying political and social thought and foreign affairs. And I'm here tonight as an intern for the Public Service Pathways program, where I co-lead the Global Sustainability program. But outside of that, I'm also involved in the Ronald McDonald House and a music service fraternity. So I'll throw it back to you guys.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. We have a presentation for you all. And throughout the presentation, we are going to have some QR codes that will lead you to links for the opportunities that we will reference. But don't worry, we will also have the links going in the chat at the same time. So yes, this is UVA Public Service.
Yeah, and just to start us off, so public service, as Dreama was mentioning as we were getting started, public service is really a core aspect of who we are as a student community at UVA, and it sort of makes up part of the fabric of our student body. And public service generally, there are a lot of different ways to get involved, and again, we'll get into that in a moment. But what we'll be showing you throughout this presentation is not just what public service means to us and why it's so valuable and how it's so valuable, but also the many different ways of getting involved.
So on this slide is our mission statement. What we want to point out here is that public service is not just what we do or something that we do, it's part of who we are. The mission statement's a little long, we know, but it's all important. And so we want to point out we're guided by the university's strategic vision to build a great and good university. Public service is guided by working closely with our local communities and empowering students, faculty, and staff to advance the public good so that we can be catalysts for lasting positive change on grounds and beyond. So here's why this matters. Service and honor are the two main pillars at UVA which strengthen our community. Honor is how we govern ourselves as students, and we strive to create that community of trust. We treat each other with respect, and we utilize student self-governance. It's an inner code of self-governance that's relevant to all students, and it makes us who we are. But that honor can also be outward-facing, and that's where service comes in. Service is the expression of honor to the larger community. So on this next slide, we want to point out that during your time at UVA and beyond, we invite you to consider yourself not only with these two lenses, but thinking both how you can serve as an individual in a public service facing role. So when we look to the Venn diagram on the next slide, not only are students responding to the changes that are needed in the community around the world, but we believe that public service should be something that reflects what brings you joy and what you're good at. Being at UVA is such an incredible opportunity because you have so many chances to discover this public service role. And we offer so many avenues and opportunities for students to combine both their passions and their desire to serve. So Lily is going to introduce the different ways that or the different forms that these avenues take.
Yeah, so if you're questioning exactly how this looks or how you can put this into practice, we've created a visualization for you here of all of the different avenues of public service at UVA. And so in the center there, as Dreama mentioned, Public Service Pathways is a wayfinding, purpose-driven program where you can really work on trying to develop your own public service mindset. And then putting that mindset into practice, we have our partners ROTC, Madison House, Student Engagement, Student Council, Center for Community Partnerships, and the Karsh Institute of Democracy. And this is not a comprehensive list of what public service looks like at UVA, but these are just jumping off points for you all to get involved here. So now we're going to talk a little bit about what each of these actually mean.
Great. So we're going to start out by talking about the Public Service Pathways program. Public Service Pathways is an exploratory wayfinding program for students here at UVA that's supplying you with the tools and resources necessary, not just to get involved in communities with, around UVA, but also the communities you want to engage with. But it's also a program that supplies you with the resources necessary to cultivate what we call a public service mindset. With this public service mindset, Pathways is able to guide students in directions through community service with passions that they're interested in. So that way, kind of, again, referring to the Venn diagram we showed earlier, we're finding ways of using your passions and what you're interested in to align that to build your public service role. So part of our three-part mission of Public Service Pathways is, again, this public service mindset, which is helping you think about service and not just what you do to serve, but also how you serve, how you do so ethically, and why that's valuable. And then we have community creation as well. So we'll get into this in just a moment, but the pathways within Public Service Pathways are across a variety of different disciplines. So within that, you're able to surround yourself with like-minded people who are not just interested in public service, but also share some of the passions that you might have coming into UVA. And lastly, part of our three-part mission is finding your way at UVA. Pathways is able to connect students with a variety of networking, mentorship, and service opportunities, both on grounds and beyond it. And that's really valuable, not just for building your network and building your UVA community, but also for thinking of yourself as a public servant and developing this framework of thinking about service.
All right, so the 7 different pathways are outlined on these slides. We have diplomacy and security, education, global sustainability, justice, public arts, public health, and public interest technology. As Maggie said, students have the opportunity to explore the variety of opportunities within these pathways. So let's talk about realistically what a curriculum in the pathways look like. So students spend their first 2 years in the program with the opportunity to explore. It does not have to be related to your major, and you can be interested in several different things. You do not have an obligation to choose until later in your 3rd year, where you complete it for the final 2 years of your program. What we do throughout your time in the program is that we have about 3 general requirements, which is all consolidated into a newsletter that we send out, which will be sent out at the end of these slides. So for example, in your first year, we'll ask that you go to 2 Connect events, which is like easy networking. We'll connect you with students, staff, faculty, alumni, people who really care about you and your interests and want to send out or connect with you about like what the public service journey might look like in your own journey. We send you to 2 academic events so you understand the cultural and community context behind the communities that you're serving. And then finally, we send you to that service opportunity. And so that can be in whatever form that you like. Maybe you like planting trees or tutoring kids. There's really no wrong way to get involved and serve. Upon completion of these requirements, we ask that you write a short reflection. It does not have to be a Pulitzer Prize winner. It's just something that we know that you have the time, the tools, and resources to understand where you've been in this past semester and where you can take those skills going forward. This is an important part to some people, the eye-opener. At the completion of your program, at the end of however long it takes for you to complete UVA, usually 4 years, you get to graduate with the distinction of being a Presidential Public Service Scholar. This is a distinction that goes in your transcript, and it is so, so incredible because UVA does not give out many distinctions like this. So this is something that you can be proud of when you look at your transcript, maybe something that you want employers to know about you, that you're committed to public service. And so it's a really great opportunity to take advantage of. So on this next slide, we have an action step. And so if anybody's interested, you can scan this QR code to join that newsletter that we're talking about. It does automatically enroll you in the program, but we do don't be scared. It's okay. When you join, you'll be connected to that newsletter, and we suggest that people join that anyways, because you get to see all those incredible networking, academic, service events, all types of resources. If you decide that you do not want to continue, you are always free to opt out, but the newsletter is an incredible resource, and we highly encourage you to scan it now, or check out the link that Dreama just sent. And Maggie, thank you.
Awesome. So now we're going to talk about Madison House. And Madison House really is the central hub for volunteering here at UVA. It is a nonprofit, so it is actually independent, but it is completely student-led, which is pretty incredible. So within Madison House, there are 4 different tracks. There are human services, education and youth, animals and environment, and health and medical services. And within the tracks, there are a variety of opportunities and programs to get involved in. So depending on your major, you can choose opportunities that might align more with it. You'll be surprised at how much your major can actually help you do good in the community. So for example, if you're an engineering student, there is GEMS, which is Girls Excited About Math and Sciences. If you're pre-health, there are a variety of opportunities in the UVA Health Hospital, in the Martha Jefferson Hospital. And then also those are, because they're a bit more competitive, there are also other examples like Adopt a Grandparent, where you will actually get to visit a nursing home once a week and spend time with your adopted grandparent, which is residents within the home. But there are also a variety of other opportunities that can align with any interest you have. It doesn't have to be aligned with your major. So to give you an idea of how many of us are actually volunteering at Madison House, a little over 1,600 of us volunteer. And then out of that, 213 get to become student leaders. So again, I mentioned that Madison House is student-led, so that means 213 of these students are actually getting to engage with community partners. They're administrating the programs, they're helping make the budgets, they're helping track the finances, things like that. And then altogether, we're putting in almost 50,000 hours of volunteer work, which is pretty incredible. So if you are interested in volunteering at Madison House, it is a 1-year to sometimes a semesterly commitment, and you're putting in about 1 to 3 hours a week. And again, this is a really great direct service, really building a relationship type of volunteering work, which is really great. And so if you're super interested in that, I suggest filling out this interest form, which is this QR code here. And that interest form allows you to rank your interests, so ranking the opportunities that you would want to be involved in. And then you will actually get matched with a program, which is pretty cool. And so you can do this now in the fall, or you can also do it in the spring.
Awesome. Now we're going to talk about student engagement. Student engagement is housed under the Office of Student Affairs and basically oversees all of the student-run organizations on grounds. So another fancy UVA lingo term, which you'll learn very soon because I'm about to say it, is CIO. CIO stands for Contracted Independent Organization. It's just our fancy way of saying a club. So any kind of club you had in high school or maybe at the university you were just at, you can find that in the form of a CIO here through student engagement. As you can see on the slides, student engagement oversees over 700 student organizations, and these span from really anything, whether it is, you're passionate about art or music or leadership programs or service opportunities, which of course is very important to all of us here, but really come in a variety of forms. Some of the leadership programs offered by student engagement include the Women's Leadership Development Program, as well as the Blueprint Leadership Program. And again, these are just a few of the many, many organizations which student engagement offers, and there really is no shortage of ways to get involved. So on this next slide, you'll see that if you scan that QR code, that will take you to who's involved, which will have compiled for you all of the 700 plus student organizations with which student engagement offers. We also encourage you to follow at UVA Student Engagement on Instagram, because that will have updates on, when the Student Activities Fair is and different things like that, and some of the different things that Student Engagement is offering. The Activities Fair is right before the first day of classes, typically, of each semester. So I believe this year it's on August 24th. So highly recommend that you go there. That's what you see in the picture right there with all of those many, many people. Yes, it can be crowded, but it's super fun, and it's a great way to see what's going on and all of the different ways you can get involved. And again, there's a lot of service opportunities through these student-run organizations. So check it out.
Yeah, so thank you so much. The next program that we're going to be talking about is the Karsh Institute of Democracy. So what is Karsh? If you or your student cares about democracy, which it is an important thing to care about, this is a place to get started. The Karsh Institute is a pan-university institute that brings people together to generate ideas and solutions that build a better democracy for all. So they work to create collaborative dialogues and foster innovative solutions through their programs, research, and partnerships. So the Karsh Institute, especially for students, wants to emphasize this idea of democracy as an action. What does that mean? A great example of democracy in action is voting, but we also believe that it goes much beyond that. We believe that democracy is also, it's a skill, it's a commitment that the Karsh Institute works to instill in future citizen leaders. So you might be wondering, what does that look like in practice? And how can students and community members get involved? So the best option we have, well, sorry, I'm biased, but one terrific option is the Civic Cornerstone Fellowship. So what it is, it brings together students from diverse ideological perspectives from all over the university to engage in dialogue across lines of difference. Every 3 to 4 weeks, students come together over shared meals, so free food guys, to practice peer-to-peer dialogue, learn self-regulation through mindfulness practice, and develop their knowledge of the American political landscape. This is not just for politics majors. So last year, fellows hailed from 11 out of 12 of UVA schools, and dozens of majors were represented, with everyone from commerce to chemistry and data science to history, engineering to nursing. The opportunities were limitless. It was great. So as an incoming first-year transfer student, this is a terrific place to get started. Applications are open until September 1st. However, if you are really interested in doing it this next semester, we highly encourage that you sign up as soon as possible. Just because 200 students have signed up or applied for this next semester, and we want everybody to have a seat. If this isn't tickling your fancy, we also have the Karsh Institute also has a democracy course guide. So if you are enrolling later in the summer, or you are thinking about classes that you might want to take in the future, Karsh compiles courses around grounds that explore democratic themes. This could be a very useful tool, especially for I don't know what classes to take. They all sound so interesting. The list is amazing, and you can scan the QR code there to get that the full list. And last but not least, Democracy 360 is the Karsh Institute's flagship event, and is going to return to Charlottesville this fall. So in past events, over 3,000 people have gathered at UVA for a 3-day gathering with panels, workshops, and networking opportunities to spark new conversations about thriving a democratic future. Registration is now live, and seats are offered on a first-come, first-served basis. So if you or your student are interested, you can sign up today and have access to these terrific speakers, research, just these incredible ideas on democracy.
Great. Now we're going to talk about the ROTC. ROTC stands for Reserve Officers Training Corps Program, and it is training commissioned officers of the United States Armed Forces. Here at UVA, we have 3 departments: Navy, Air Force, and Army. Embedded in the Air Force, you have the Air Force and the Space Force. Embedded in the Navy, we have the Marine Corps and the Navy. Upon graduation through ROTC, you can graduate as a second lieutenant in either Army or Air Force, or as an ensign in the Navy. some things offered to you through ROTC include scholarships, mentorship, camaraderie, and service. So you can join in your first or second year, making an obligation to commission post-graduation. The leniency of that can vary depending on the department which you select. However, ultimately, every department is an elective curriculum which you take alongside your required classes. So there is some opportunity to explore and take those classes and see what fits you and what fits your personal goals best. In every ROTC class for each department, again, it will vary, but there's roughly 55 students, and that is a really valuable thing in terms of if you think about, your undergraduate class at UVA, there are going to be hundreds of students. So having a much smaller cohort, not just to learn alongside, but also to train alongside and cultivate a sense of public service alongside, can really form valuable bonds. Additionally, having that small cohort enables you to get to know your professors really well, who can guide you throughout your time at UVA and beyond. In terms of all of the different departments, they have a variety of very generous financial and educational and leadership opportunities, which they offer. So as you can see, there's slight variation depending on the department, but all of them do offer different 2-3-year scholarships, education opportunities through Project Global Officer. So you can go to another country, learn the language. So that's super cool. And overall, all of these opportunities, some of them do offer the potential to pay for your undergraduate education. In some cases, you might find opportunities that can help pay for your graduate education and things like that. But overall, as you can see, every department has specific requirements that are unique to that department. However, they're connected by a shared commitment to public service. So if you're interested in learning more about the ROTC, the QR code on the left side of your screen will tell you more about ROTC's mission and path of public service if you have more questions about what it might mean to join a program. The QR code on the QR code on the right has more information about scholarships and benefits specific to Army, Navy, and Air Force. So if you're interested in getting more details on that, you can scan that QR code. Additionally, in the center of your screen and also now in the chat, we have phone numbers and email addresses for Army, Navy, and Air Force, which you can contact if you have more questions specific to those departments, because they will certainly be able to answer all of those questions for you.
Thank you again for a great segment there. So next we're going to be talking about the Center for Community Partnerships. So what is it? The Center for Community Partnerships is an institution committed to building mutually beneficial relationships with our Charlottesville neighbors. They emphasize the importance of intentional, thoughtful engagement, which recognizes the strength, richness, and many advantages that come from partnerships that are founded on shared respect and collaboration, and led by community members. It's a partnership-based program that is centered on connecting the community, and it's led by a community-centered steering committee, which is also really incredible. Essentially, the center functions as a liaison between UVA and the Charlottesville community, working to make UVA a good neighbor. The center seeks to equip students with tools necessary to contribute to a more just society and to help students learn about service and step outside what students often encounter, what we call the university bubble. So one great program is the College and Career Access College and Career Access. This is a series of programs that provides access to educational resources and opportunities for Charlottesville youth with two overarching aims. The first one being to support young people as change agents in their lives and communities. And the second one to provide opportunities that increase youth access to college and career pipelines. One of these programs is the Star Hill Pathways program. A huge focus of the Center for Community Partnerships is education and furthering the education of local elementary, middle, and high school students. This goal is achieved through several education-based programs. And so what Star Hill Pathways is that UVA students are able to serve as mentors for students in the program, offering guidance and support for students, as well as the opportunity to step outside the earlier bubble and grow alongside fellow community members. So if you are interested in having consistent, substantive training to better understand the value of mutually beneficial engagement and feel ready to make that long-term commitment with the community, this is an incredible opportunity. If you're also interested in learning more about the work that the Center for Community Partnerships does, you can scan the QR code here, or again, check the chat, which has been very helpful, and you can subscribe to their newsletter to stay updated on all the amazing work the center does. Yeah, thank you.
Alrighty, and lastly, we're going to talk about student council. So the purpose of student council is to protect and improve the rights, opportunities, and quality of life of every single student at UVA. And that means the Darden students, that means the law students, that means the health students. Every single school is protected under student council. And the way that we do that is through a bargaining, not governing relationship with the UVA administration. So one of the ways that we do that, I mentioned I'm the director of coalition engagement, and so I get to oversee a variety of advisory boards, and this one is the Public Service Advisory Board, my personal favorite. And right now it holds over 8 university organizations. A couple named in this presentation actually sit on this board. And what we do is we aim to make sure that as students, we are ethically serving our community and doing it to inspire the other students to hold this as a lifelong value. And so this past semester, we actually got to create this guidebook to ethical service. We made a website and we met with the president of the university. But that is not the only way that you can engage with student council. We have a variety of different branches in our organization where we can work with CIOs, we can do budgeting, we can do finance, we can do marketing, we do a lot of lobbying. And then we also have a representative body that actually gets to pass legislation that goes straight to the UVA administration. And so if this piques your interest at all, I recommend following our Instagram to stay tuned to our fall general body application. And then also we post timeline updates for the Board of Elections, which is where you would run to be a first-year representative or a transfer student representative. And we also just post resources in general. So even if you don't want to get engaged in an extracurricular way, I would also just recommend you follow our Instagram so that you can stay up to date on all things student related. Oh, and this is your 2025-26 administration, with the top left being Clay Dickerson, your president. And so just to do a quick recap of all of the wonderful avenues that we have described to you today, we have public service pathways in the middle, which again is our wayfinding public service mindset program. And then to put that public service mindset into action, we have the ROTC, Madison House Student Engagement, Student Council, Center for Community Partnerships, and the Karsh Institute of Democracy. And again, this is not a comprehensive list of public service opportunities at UVA, but these are the jumping off points for you all to get involved with us. Thank you so much. And you can follow us at UVA Service on Instagram for more information about the avenues that we have just described to you today. Any questions? We'll turn it over.
And just so everyone knows, we did drop a link in the chat that says public service links, and that will take you to a website which has links to all of the programs and organizations which we spoke about. One question I know we got in the chat, which I answered, but just to say it out loud in case anyone else is wondering, are incoming third-year transfer students able to complete public service pathways? The answer is yes. If you are enrolling in UVA in the fall of your third year as a transfer, then yes, you are able to join public service pathways, and we have a pathway, for lack of a better word, just for you. So yes, transfers are more than welcome to join public service pathways.
Looks like we might not be getting too many questions in the chat, but I'll just pose one to the group of attendees. Are there any avenues that you heard about tonight that you would be interested in exploring? And if so, would you drop them in the chat for us? Or the Q&A, I should say.
Rima, I can answer that one. I really like public service pathways, I'll admit it, but all of these are such great avenues.
Love it. Thanks, Isabella. So Betty, should we turn it back over to you?
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask a question of our student interns that might be helpful for all new students, both first years and transfers. How did you take the first step in serving the community at UVA or the local Charlottesville area? Think back, because I know you're all fourth years now, but think back on taking that first step and maybe share that.
I can go first. Yeah, so the first step that I took was I attended the student activities fair, and I really walked around and joined as many clubs as possible that I found interesting. And one of the ones that really sparked my attention was student council. And so I applied, and I actually only made it to an interview for one agency, and it was the sustainability agency. Shout out Isabella for your work in the sustainability track in public service pathways. And that was really awesome. At the time, it wasn't my main interest in terms of service. And so that led me to applying to the community engagement agency the year after. And ever since then, I've been working with public service pathways in Madison House on a lot of really important civic engagement opportunities. And so that is now why I'm in my position of Director of Coalition Engagement for Student Council. And so that's just a little bit of my journey. It was unexpected, it was go with the flow, but it was about following my heart. And so that's how I engaged with it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I can go next. I actually attended this public service pathways presentation during my summer orientation, and I thought, wow, that sounds really cool. I'll do that. And now here I am. So that was one of the first steps I took was I I paid attention at orientation. But also similarly to Lily at the student activities fair through student engagement, I walked around and found things that I was interested in or things I wanted to try for the first time. I wound up joining one student organization where I was able to go into a local high school in Charlottesville every week and teach debate techniques, and that was really cool, and I love that. And then I do co-lead the public arts pathway, so I'm interested in a lot of performing arts here on grounds, and so I was kind of able to take that education experience and transform that into a lot of teaching through theater specifically. So I've been able to assistant direct and direct different shows here, and that's been super cool. So pretty much I got started in service at UVA by joining public service pathways and student engagement, but also all of the organizations that we've spoken about. Again, you can take so many different avenues, and you can join one without joining the other, but we recommend as many as possible. But for me, that is how I have gone about it.
I love that story. Paying attention at orientation, always helpful. Um, I think I have a similar story. I think I got really into public service pathways in Madison House. I went to the presentation, but my first semester, I was like, I don't really know how to get involved. There are just so many things. And so one thing that really stuck out to me from the newsletter was, it was called the Madison House Walking Bus. And I did that for one semester, and it was like so hard, but it was so rewarding. And it was because you had to get up at like the crack of dawn, and I would drive with a bunch of people I'd never met before. And we walked these little kids, like I think it was a mile and a half to their elementary school. Um, but it was so, so sweet because the kids, they would be like, "Can we hold hands while we're crossing?" And be like, "Of course." They'd be like, "I don't want to go to school today." And you're like, "Well, it is really early, but let's just talk about unicorns instead." And they'd be like, "Yes, actually, yes. Now I'm excited for school. Sure, why not?" And so what that kind of like made me realize with the public service, like with the combination of Madison House and public service pathways, was that like one, it is so, so important to be like working in the real community. I couldn't have gotten that experience by staying on grounds. And I think walking through and seeing like what construction does to a community was really important to being like, oh, this is why we have to act now as UVA students. But also with this public service mindset, it helped me consider, like in previous semesters, there were things that I had done that were service, but I didn't consider it at the time. And so, for example, like I knew I was going to do marching band when I got to college. But I was like, I don't really think playing for the music was, or I don't really think playing for the community service, but there's a need within this community. Like, how can people get the proper nutrition they need when they're at a game day? Or like, how can we make sure that all people's voices are being accurately represented when we have, you know, a band that's not exactly super diverse? And so I think everyone has the capacity to do public service, and when people respond to a need, it's doing that. Um, and so that's why I decided to, you know, keep working on it. It's just something that's so invigorating. It makes me so happy.
Yeah. Unless our attendees chime in, I have one more question for you all. Again, from the student perspective, how can you help new students balance engagement, service, maybe working, and all of those pieces, all the cool fun stuff, as well as, of course, being an actual college student and your academics?
Yeah, I can go first again. So what I've been telling other students at the orientation sessions that we've been presenting at is that I think a really great tactic is to join as many clubs as you want in that first couple of months that you're at UVA, and really, really find the couple, like the 2 or 3 that you seem to be really passionate about or are super rewarding in terms of the energy that you put into them. And then really just stick to those 2 or 3 so that you can build experience with them and you can build passion around them that you can then talk about in interviews or other professional development experiences. And then, yeah, just stick to those. But I would definitely say to do it in a way that is very healthy to your mental health and the workload that you have at UVA is to do the opportunities that again are super rewarding and bring you energy, because if you're constantly having energy put in, it won't be as tiring and it won't feel as taxing because it'll come more easily. And so I think I can definitely speak on all of us when I say that we're doing opportunities that we're super, super passionate about and that we love to do. And we're just naturally kind of putting in a lot of time into them, but we're also able to keep up with our studies and make sure that we are, you know, studying when we need to for those exams that do come up. So it's all about finding balance, but balancing the things that you really enjoy. And again, as a first year or as a transfer student, that is a trial and error process. So don't be too hard on yourself with it. Definitely take that first semester, even that first year to figure it out. And don't be scared to say no to things as well. I think that's a huge part of UVA is feeling like you always have to say yes or feeling like other people are doing more things than you. It's totally fine to say no and just focus on the things that bring you the most energy and are the most rewarding, because again, you'll be able to talk about those experiences with more detail and more passion behind them.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Lily about how balancing everything is definitely a trial and error process, and it can be scary and it can be very challenging at times, but it's incredibly rewarding. And all of you are here coming to UVA because we know that you can handle it. And I think too, you know, in terms of joining a lot of different things and trying new things out, there are going to be some things you join where you're like, yes, I love this. There can be other things where you're thinking, okay, you know, maybe I could spend my time doing something else. And all of that is okay. And that's just part of the college experience. And that's all about learning and being a student, not just in the classroom, but also outside of it. But I definitely would try your best to, you know, do the new thing, take the scary step, because that's kind of how you'll find your passions and find your people and really get your groove at UVA. So balancing everything, it can be difficult, but as Lily was saying, once you really find those things that you're passionate about and, you know, those pockets of UVA that you can call your own, yes, you'll be spending your time doing those things, but you'll feel much more uplifted than anything else.
Um, Yeah, thanks for the question, Betty. I'm probably just gonna echo Lily and Maggie with their great answers here. I might just add on that like college and UVA especially is such a huge transition. You're suddenly met with like so much time that you control. And so it's okay to mess up or to feel like maybe at the end of your time here that you never really got it. Or to take a few steps when you need to. You know, you come first over everything. And once you feel comfortable, not only like integrating what you enjoy, with the things that you're doing. I guess it's kind of repetitive, but I hope that makes sense. Like, if you get joy out of doing your work, if you get joy out of these extracurriculars, that's how you know that you can drive it forward and that it becomes so much easier to balance because you want to make time for it. But yeah, self-care number one.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so since we don't have any more questions from our participants, I just want to say again, thank you to all of our presenters on the call. New students, you have an opportunity to watch the recording again on our Wednesday webinars website if you need it, if you need contact information or to refer to something again, it's all going to be there in the next day or two. You also have a chance to touch base with a lot of the folks on this call at your summer orientation if you haven't already come for that. So you'll be able to meet them at the resource fair or some of the other sessions that are happening, or let us know that you want to get connected and we'll make sure we find a way for that. Other than that, thank you all and we appreciate it. Take care.